First of all, welcome all of you, and I appreciate the organizers for all the work they've done. Of course, a lot of labor goes into this event, so I think it's really important to acknowledge not just the organizers, but also the workers who prepared this room for us and the tech people. So why don't we give a round of applause to all the people that make this happen. So my name is Marty Otañez. I'm a professor of anthropology and a professional filmmaker at UC Denver. I teach a course called Cannabis Cultures, which is basically how to get anthropology as a discipline to be helpful to the sector. And also I have a television show on cable Comcast channel 57 through Denver Open Media called Getting High on Anthropology. So I'm the moderator today, and all I'm going to do is be the timekeeper and then have each of the speakers introduce themselves and then guide or moderate the Q&A. I guess as a moderator, it may be above and beyond my pay grade to suggest that the speakers, as best they can, maybe rise above speaking to the choir. I think it's just one way to maybe be a little more innovative or critical. So with that, let me just introduce the panel. We have Daniel, Heather, Susan, and Aari. And I'll have each of them speak, or we'll have each of them speak for about 7 minutes. And then we could, as a panel, decide if we want to take questions after each speaker or after the whole panel speaks, so whatever makes sense. Carol, what has been past practice?
Probably better to wait until the end so we don't get sidetracked. Yeah.
Okay. And for those of you that are clinically shy, I encourage you to write any questions or comments or critique on a piece of paper and just hand it to us, just to encourage participation. And of course, we're all resources here, so feel free to get people's names and emails and all that stuff. So why don't we start in order how it's listed in the program, so if anyone has it in front of them, we can start that way. Okay, we'll start here. Susan.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. I was a student of Carol's when I went to CU, and I graduated in 2000. So it's very exciting. It's like an Oprah full circle moment for me to come back to the symposium and talk about cannabis. Because back in those days, I was scooping hemp cookies. So very glad to be here and be part of the transforming CU, the 420 at CU. So my professional moniker is Cannabis Maven. I adopted that in 2011. It was very much inspired by the Malcolm Gladwell book, The Tipping Point, of who are the roles that are needed to tip something from a trend to widespread popularity. So those three kinds of people are mavens, connectors, and salesmen. So I just liked the way maven sounded, even though I consider myself all three of those roles. So what I do fundamentally in the role of Cannabis Maven is that I ask myself what is needed now, and what are some problems that will happen in the future, and how can we start just talking about that and solving those problems. So some of the things that I do, market development, social understanding, and standardization and safety of products. One of the hats that I wear is I'm a freelance marijuana writer. My op-ed about 420 at CU is on the Denver Post site. It posted this morning talking about the transformation of 420 on the CU campus. And but mostly I write the marijuana advice column, so I am fielding questions about all things related to marijuana. And then I would like to say that being here and speaking, that my views are my own, and I in no way represent the Denver Post. My other hat, so that I wear, I'm a consultant. Shout out to Catherine Drumheller. I'm operations director and marketing strategist. So I manage production, forecast demand, write and implement SOPs for product and service consistencies. The projects or companies that I have managed the operations for include a hemp ice cream company making dairy-free ice cream sandwiches from hemp milk. This is a health food company that I own. I have operated production for infused edible companies and marijuana testing lab, and recently a topical CBD company. The kind of marketing strategy that I've done is mostly for hemp companies. The hemp ice cream company, I'm really talking about hemp seed as a superfood, and then also currently working with CBD products in health food stores. In the 20 years that I have been involved in marijuana and cannabis legal reform, I really enjoy trail market and the medical innovation market. So I have a real passion for the new emerging CBD products that come from hemp. I work with a company, Solana Marketing, and we are creating a CBD category in health food stores. So primarily, it's a two-part goal that I do. I do demos. Right now, you can go to Alfalfa's down the street in Boulder at Arapahoe Broadway, and then also the Louisville store. And there is a CBD category. Primarily, I represent Bluebird Botanicals. They are a client of Solana Marketing. And we're doing store demos and interacting with customers, answering questions. And then another facet of this marketing strategy is working on the national expansion strategy and identifying good stores to really put a solid introduction of CBD products into particular cities and states. One of the challenges that describing is for CBDs is how to describe the benefits of CBD without making any product claims. You know, this certainly is a hot button issue, especially with the FDA going after particular companies for making health benefits and claims about CBD products. So some of the ways to talk about that is, you know, studies indicate that this is beneficial, or that there are customers and that they get a lot of benefit from the products. But just to rattle off a few things that studies indicate CBD is helpful for. It relieves anxiety. It has a tranquilizing effect on the nervous system. It reduces blood sugar levels. It slows bacterial growth, suppresses muscle spasms, promotes bone growth, reduces inflammation, and increases cerebral blood flow. Another aspect of this introducing CBDs into the market in this way is that it's sort of the issue of dosage, and the verbiage is serving size because it's a food supplement. It's not a drug, so it's not a dose. In terms of two companies that are Boulder County companies, there's Bluebird Botanicals. Their products are formulated for like a wellness formula, which is 4 milligrams per serving, and they recommend 2 to 3 times a day. This other company, Quicksilver Scientific, they have a product called Pure Expressions, and they are at 15 milligrams for a serving size. So I think there is a difference between a wellness serving versus a medical dose, where you'd be treating it for a specific condition. But I think overall, really what fascinates me in the here and now is this paradigm shift that we are undergoing and how we conceptualize and we treat usage. You know, that there's the illicit use, the black market kind of understanding where use equals substance abuse and addiction. And then now with the emergence of medical marijuana, the medical use is when someone is weighing the benefits and the risks of the use for treatment of a particular issue. Okay. There's challenges. Maybe someone else will want to mention the Controlled Substances Act and the scheduling. That's an issue. And then, you know, also the emergence of the recreational market, and where that is a use that's for intentional impairment. I'm really excited about the wellness market, where people are consuming it, you know, either from hemp or marijuana, but the THC is at such a low level that it's not intoxicating. I really feel like there are more people that are interested in that applications where they use it for prevention or holistic purposes. And I really feel like cannabinoid products should be available in health food stores. I think that is the best avenue. You know, I don't want to see these products formed in a Schedule II for the Controlled Substances Act, because I really wanted to see the products inexpensive and available for more people. So something that parallels the herbal supplement industry. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to your questions.
So next we'll have Daniel. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, everyone, for having me. This is a wonderful cannabis as a classical psychedelic, which is a little unusual. But given the work that other people are doing, we're able to do this work now. And we're getting some really interesting results that I'd like to share with you all. So I teach classes on safer use practices with cannabis and also with other medicines as a harm reduction program. Just like any other harm reduction program, we believe that education as opposed to prohibition is the right course of action to reduce harm to individuals and society at large. But we take it a step further and also name the real trend that cannabis and psychedelics don't have to cause harm, that they are medicines as opposed to like a hardcore drug and really shouldn't be on Schedule 1. So part of my practice is coaching people who are intentional users of these medicines to have big experiences and what to do with the experiences after they're over, how to incorporate the lessons and teachings in their lives. We also teach people how to use these medicines for physical and psychological healing purposes, particularly with trauma and PTSD. So since legalization of cannabis in Colorado, recreational legalization in 2012, we've been facilitating small groups we call them conscious cannabis circles, which are intentional and theogenic journeys using just cannabis, they're pretty amazing experiences, and we get this interesting flack from our communities in that people don't actually believe that we can do this work with this medicine, but what we're finding is that cannabis has the ability to mimic and replicate the experience of other classical psychedelic medicines like LSD, psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca, that sort of thing. And not only the effects, the phenomenological effects of the experience itself, but also the healing potential of it as well. So we call this exploring the third frontier of cannabis activism. The first one being medical marijuana, which is really becoming very mainstream in America and in other countries. The second one being the recreational cannabis legalization effort, which started in Colorado and Washington, and is really about to spread into a lot of other states. This third one is like this exploration of the psycho-spiritual uses of cannabis. So we really want to honor the activists and politicians and leaders of these movements, because our work is specifically grounded in their work, and we wouldn't be able to do this work without what's happened in the world. But what we want to share is that there's a real potential here for healing and transformation, cultural and social awakening. And so not only healing physical ailments like trauma and psychological ailments like PTSD, but also to shift the paradigm and consciousness in our culture towards an acknowledgement that these medicines can be used intentionally and safely in a way that heals society as opposed to takes resources away from society. So, there's an incredible study happening, or in the process of starting right now in Colorado. The Sioux Cicely study was funded by a grant from the state of Colorado, using cannabis to treat PTSD in veterans. And this is a really amazing opportunity. But what we want to name is that when we're not confined by research paradigms or political paradigms, that when we really step into the potential of these medicines, that we can teach skill sets and mindfulness practices that are somatically trauma therapy informed, that can actually reduce the need of cannabis completely. And so actually heal the PTSD as opposed to daily treatment of it. So I don't know what to say other than that these are real experiences. People have them every day in a program. Whenever we do circles monthly, we're going to start incorporating cannabis with breathwork practices. And we think that would be able to really break through a lot of the physical and psychological traumas that people live with on a day-to-day basis. So the fascinating thing is that there's a lot of research, there's a lot of advocacy for using psychedelics as a form to heal, as a substance, as a practice to heal trauma. But this is all in the future. It's not legal, or it's very controlled in studies. But one of the amazing things that cannabis activism in Colorado has given us the opportunity is to actually engage and explore these possibilities outside of the research paradigm and just do the work. And we're going to heal a lot of people. So in Colorado, since 2014, since Colorado became recreational legal, we've worked with hundreds of people, and we encourage you to come check out our program. It's called Medicinal Mindfulness. We have a cannabis circle this weekend in Boulder, and we're also doing a breathwork program as part of the C psychedelic symposium tonight. So if you want to explore a non-medicine practice to heal trauma, to step into who you are, this might be an opportunity for you as well. So thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. After your presentation, Susan, I'm getting really thirsty for cannabis and cannabis studies. So thank you. Next, Aari.
Good morning, my name is Aari Ruben. I'm the director of Desert Bloom Relief Center. I'm really happy to be here. This is my third year at the Cannabis Symposium, and I'm happy to say that every year we get a larger space to have the event, and so I think the organizers are doing well, and that the event has legs, so it'll probably go on for a long time to come, so I'm thrilled to be here. We operate a medical marijuana dispensary in Tucson, Arizona, and we also have a couple of cultivation sites that we manage that are attached to that license. I spent thousands of hours before opening in 2013 doing research on the medical benefits of cannabis so that we could best serve our patients. And our model has proven to be very popular in our local market, and we've gotten quite a bit of notice for the help that we've offered to patients in our area. We're here to talk a little bit about innovations in cannabis, and so I kind of made a list of recent things that are going on in all different facets of the industry. Grow equipment has come a long way. LED lights are beginning to gain traction, and I've never had a lot of success with them growing personally, but I believe that the technology has come along to a point where it's more useful. Another growing technique that's being in more widespread use is high-tech light deprivation greenhouses in order to make the industry greener and have less of a carbon footprint, and also bring down the cost of the end products. As far as methods of use that are coming into existence, metered inhalers, similar to those used by asthma patients, vaporizers, and infused patches are also some of the new ways that people are choosing to get their medicine into them. There's also equipment and processes that are being developed for hash making and concentrate making. The rosin or live resin processes are highly useful. They make solvent-free extracts that we avoid a lot of problems of explosions from people making BPHO or residual solvents left in the finished products, and so those products are really important. Cannabis breeding for the plant material itself is coming along, and the genetics are being re-engineered, and CBD is being reintroduced into a lot of strains and becoming more widely available in the marketplace, which is fantastic. Another product is cannabis extracted terpenes, and that's highly useful. They can be reintroduced into extracts or consumed in their own right. And if you haven't had a dab with cannabis extracted terpenes specifically, it's something that I highly recommend that you try. It's a very nice way to consume cannabis. One thing happening here at CU Boulder that's awesome is the Cannabis Genome Project. Drs. Nolan King and Danielle Figueroa doing mapping the cannabis genome. and that's highly useful for future breeding. I'm excited to hear if there's any new results from the last year of their work. So what I've done is, when we opened our operation, I was the primary blood tender. It was kind of a mom and pop, and I got to have a lot of interaction with the patients in the early days. And as we started to hire employees and become a larger dispensary serving more people, I needed to train my staff to make the clinical decisions or the product recommendations with the same certainty that I was making them after having done all my research. And what I determined is that there's a need for a tool, a computerized program or application that would take information about an individual's healthcare dysfunction and match it up with the correct cannabinoid profile or terpene profile, and help them have a starting point for the trial and error that we have to go through with all medical cannabis patients. We use our experience to make a recommendation of a method of use in a particular strain, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so there's a trial and error process that we have to go through in order to find the optimum treatment for each individual. And it's really fun stuff. So my mother is a nurse practitioner, and we have a medical director for all Arizona dispensaries. And so that team has begun to map a computerized decision-making tree that we hope to develop into an app and have available to patients as individuals and also to dispensaries in order to make recommendations to their patients. So there's lots of exciting stuff going on in the cannabis industry, and I'm proud to be an advocate and a part of it, and thrilled to be here. And thank you guys for being here and listening.
All right, last but not least, Heather. Thanks, Aari.
Thank you, Aari. I'm Nurse Heather, and when I was going to college to become a nurse to get my license, cannabis and cannabinoid therapeutics were the last thing on my radar. So you sitting here today, whatever it is that you're going to school for, your degree, you have this in your mind already. That cannabis, there's probably a place in the cannabis industry for you to utilize your degree. So that being said, I went to school. I became a psychiatric nurse, and I worked in home health. So I actually went into homes of people who had psychiatric issues. So if it was a schizophrenic patient that had a stroke, I would go to their home and I would help them get established back into society. So I had a very interesting job, because I always said the crazier the better. And it's really fun for me to get into other people's realities and try to help them navigate their world. When I started realizing that a lot of patients, and this was all in New Mexico, so when I started realizing that a lot of patients were using cannabis in the home health setting, I started doing my research and saw that this was good and that this was something that I could get on board with, because in our state of New Mexico, we actually had a program for medical cannabis patients. So I started helping my patients get on the program. I would just tell them, you're already sick, you qualify, you don't need legal issues, you're already using this medicine, and you can probably get something better than that, ditch weed that you have on the table if you're part of the program. So that was always my focus, with higher quality medicine, safe access for my patients, and no legal issues. But what I started to see was that by doing that, we were able to get patients who were either on hospice, where they were on heavy regimens of medications, opiates. I started seeing those medications reduce. And so part of my job was to come in each week and fill their pill pack to make sure that they had all their medications for the day. And then when I would come back the following week, I saw what did they take and that sort of thing. And after cannabis, I started realizing that a lot of pills were still left in the pill packs. And so what was happening was patients were literally reducing their pharmaceutical use by using cannabinoid therapeutics. So this was pretty cool to me. Because of my work with my patients and getting so many patients on the program, I was asked to be a medical director, just like you have a medical director. But New Mexico was the first state to require medical directors for their dispensaries, or what they call nonprofit producers. And so I'm actually the longest running medical director in dispensary history, medical cannabis history, because I've been doing it now since 2009. Part of that job is the education part, so I have to keep up with the trends, what's happening, what's the new research, because cannabinoid therapeutics and cannabis research is the fastest moving area of research. And I know that in all of our lifespan, we will see cannabinoid therapeutics be a first-line medication. It is a first-line medication of the future. So we're all just learning this. You spoke about Sue Cicely and her study that she's doing. And this has taken her a long time to get to this point to even be able to do the study. But there is a lot of research happening around the world. So I would encourage you, we have a Cannabis Nurses magazine. Oh, this is what I was going to say. So everybody get your phone out, first of all. Get out your phone. Go to Facebook if you're a Facebook user or whatever your social media is. And look up Cannabis Nurse Heather and like me, follow me, whatever. But also if you're on Facebook, look up Cannabis Nurses magazine and like this, because this is really fantastic. This is the first publication that has been created that is all cannabinoid therapeutic focused, and all the articles are written by doctors and nurses. So this is the real deal. And so part of what I want to say being here in an educational establishment is you have an opportunity to learn a lot more than I know. I'm happy to answer your questions. I've been in this game for a very long time. I started the first edibles and infusion kitchens in the states of New Mexico and Arizona. And I'm currently in California, where things are just going gangbusters there. And I'm starting a new product line, which will be launching in June, called Nature Nurse. And the cool thing about this is that it is the innovative products. We are doing all of the medical type products, transdermal patches, suppositories. Yes, suppositories. We call those PIMAs. PIMA? Pot in my ass or put in my ass. So, we say this because it's fun and it's an icebreaker for patients who are really sick, and this really is the best method of administration for cancer. So let me be clear, as much as I laugh about it, it really is helping a lot of our patients. So we all of these products that will be, topical use, and we don't talk about the topical use enough with our MS patients who need it for spasms and other patients as well. So this new company that we're doing, Nature Nurse, is not just these products, but it's also the service where we will have nurses, cannabis nurses, who will be available for patients online through a telemedicine portal. And this is the first time that this will be happening. I'm a fan of being a first. I see where the needs are, similar to you, Susan. I fill holes. And right now that's a hole. We need to have a connection between the patients and caregiver and healthcare professionals who actually understand cannabinoid therapeutics, and we can guide patients through the dosing to dispensaries and just kind of help them by empowering them to take hold of their own health care. So that's all I have to say about that for now. I'm looking forward to questions because I really love Q&As, because I like to say there's not a question I can't find an answer to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. And if I can ask the panelists, depending on how things go with the Q&A, to keep your responses short so we can have more questions. And of course, if we have more time, then you can go into deeper answers. But I think it just allows us to have some great discussion. So now it's your turn. We'd love to hear from you. Feel free, if you feel comfortable, your name and then your question. Yes.
Hi, my name is Andrea. I have a question for Nurse Heather.
Yes.
So I have several relatives in Arizona who are nurses, registered nurses, and they are very conservative, traditional, somewhat narrow-minded. And I've tried having conversations before about the benefits of cannabis, and I seem to come up short. So if you were going to, from your expertise, in one sentence or 1 minute, try to convince somebody in the medical profession that this is really something that's valuable, how would you get through to them?
So what I would say, first of all, I'm also the president and founder of the Arizona Cannabis Nurses Association, and we were the organization that got PTSD added. Our attorney, Ken Sobel, is right back here in the blue shirt. He'll be speaking during the next segment. He's really fantastic. I know you guys didn't get PTSD added here, and that's because you didn't have pencil to come do it, otherwise it would have happened. But what we need to really look at when I say medical professionals is learn about the endocannabinoid system. Because just like we have a respiratory system, lymphatic system, immune system, we also have an endocannabinoid system. And unfortunately, this is not being taught in nursing schools, medical schools, and pharmacology schools. So they don't know it as normal. So when we're talking about cannabis, trying to say it's linked to a system just kind of blows their mind. But the truth is, the endocannabinoid system is the largest signaling system in our body. And it is the balancing or homeostasis system for all of our other systems. So when you're thinking about any disease that's affecting one system or another, it only makes sense to address the balancing system first, get the body into homeostasis, just like the chief was speaking about earlier. She was saying, oh shoot, I forgot my thought because I thought about a police officer and it freaked me out. Sorry, I had like brain fire. But anyway, I would just say the endocannabinoid system, the balancing center, and really addressing that balance first, and then needs to happen with those systems individually after that. Sorry. I'm scared of officers. I don't know why. I don't do anything illegal.
Thank you, Heather. Next question. Yeah.
I'm not sure who this question is for really, but I kind of just wanted to share from my own experience. I've tried some CBD strains recently, and there's different ones, and a few in particular, it's like the closest thing to an ideal daily functional medicine I've ever tried, like ever. And I guess I'm kind of wondering if you can talk a little bit more about the CBD strains, and also I'm wondering if it has something to do with the fact that there's also some THC in it. It's not only CBD, and there's some mixture in there.
The emerging science tells us that broad spectrum is what you want, so that means as many of the different cannabinoids that exist in some concentration and broad spectrum terpene profile too. The THC and the CBD modulate each other, and so they work better when they're together. That's why you're having good luck with that. And you know, I'm a cannabis user. I like to smoke different strains at different times of day or when I'm in different moods. And, you know, I think that variety for me is what gives me the best broad spectrum therapy.
And I'd like to add to that too. As a nurse, you know, we have these CBD only laws or the Charlottesville laws that are in states where all they can have is CBD. And it was intended for these children with debase syndrome and seizures. And it was great and wonderful, and it was a fabulous first baby step. But what I'm the one that gets the calls from the parents after they've been using CBD only for 6 weeks or so, and then all of a sudden the seizures start to come back. And they say, Nurse Heather, it's happening, they're coming back again, it's not working anymore. And that's when we have to have the conversation about THC. Because just like what Aari said, THC helps the CBD work better. It works synergistically. And so you need that to move it along. The big issue though with THC is usually the idea of getting high or euphoria. And I like to say that euphoria is not an adverse reaction. Dysphoria is an adverse reaction. Euphoria actually makes you feel good. And when people are sick, I want them to feel good. So cannabis is perfect for that.
We find with children, I've been fortunate enough to treat a number of pediatric patients, and we have to change their regimen, get them on a certain oil or a certain dose, and it works for a while, and then it starts to not work as well, and we change things up, typically by introducing a little bit more THC in a targeted way, either before bedtime or before a meal, and trying to use it in a sensible way. And actually, that carries over into most of our patient population. People kind of have their go-to strain or method of use, and if they find that that's not working as well for them, if they change it up a little bit, like with a high CBD strain or with some edibles, if they typically are inhaled method of use user. So the changes in the trial and error is a big part of this. It's not one size fits all. typically people have to continue through the process to get the best results.
And there's also what you were saying about the terpenes and the mixing of the cannabinoids. I had a patient that they used one strain during the day and one strain at night. They were very consistent on that. Then it stopped working. And said it doesn't work anymore. I said, well, take them, mix them together, and grind them up together and try it that way. It worked because it changed that cannabinoid, flavonoid, and terpene profile. And just getting that mixture, you do need to kind of play with it a little bit. And that's the fun part about having so many strains. You have options.
I think one of the interesting things about the emergence of the CBD market is that you have companies that are isolating the CBD, and and then as Aari and Heather were mentioning, that there's the synergistic effect. So if you have a CBD extract that's coming from like a whole plant extract, then you have the other cannabinoids present. I think it really kind of, there is a need for more research to know whether the other cannabinoids are present, if that will have a synergistic effect, or if it's just the CBD and the THC. Those are the most common, cannabinoids that we know about. But I'm interested in knowing what product you're using.
Another favorite of mine is CBG cannabidiol. We're finding it's highly effective for GI issues, Crohn's, celiacs, anything like that, where people are having trouble with their digestive tract. If you can find a strain with 2, 3, 4% CBG in it, would be highly effective.
All right, questions? Yeah.
I have a question about the smoking medical part of it. I've had people tell me that taking it edibly is better than smoking it, and I've also heard that when you smoke it, there is no medical benefits, actually.
I can take that one if you like. I'll share it. So first of all, in medicine, we use inhaled forms of medication all the time, whether it's the nebulizers or whatever. So inhaled medicine is a real thing. We look at the combustion aspect. So smoking it, vaporizing it is going to be healthier just for the lung irritation, for your bronchial. But you need to be aware when you're eating cannabis that you are really stimulating different receptors. So the endocannabinoid system I was speaking of, we have CB1 receptors that are primarily in our brain and spinal cord. When you inhale cannabis, it goes into your lungs, gets into the bloodstream, and quickly goes to your brain. This is activating your CB1 receptors. When you eat cannabis, it actually goes through your digestive tract, and it's metabolized in your liver. And your body, in response to THC, creates a metabolite called 11-hydroxy-THC. Now, this metabolite is highly psychoactive. And so if you eat too many milligrams in your edible, this is where you can have an overingestion. This is where you go from euphoria to dysphoria. It becomes a little bit adverse, and most people don't like that. So you have to be really careful with your dose. Just keeping in mind that each method of administration is going to respond differently from each person. I have patients that they could eat a tray of medicated brownies and nothing would happen to them because their body does not metabolize the 11-hydroxy-THC. You don't know why, but that's a real reality. So when you're looking at these different methods of administration, they are all medical. You just want to make sure that you're doing it the right way to address what it is you're trying, the symptoms that you're trying to address.
It reminds me of another interesting innovation in the cannabis world that's going on currently. Heather referred to Delta 11 THC. Our typical THC is Delta 9. So that refers to the carbon chain that's the backbone of the molecule on a molecular level. And there's a lot of work being done manipulating that chain, either shortening it or lengthening it in order to increase bioavailability of specific cannabinoids. And that is super interesting. Our blood-brain barrier is this great colander that only allows molecules of a certain size to go to our brain and to be psychoactive. And that's why we have to heat cannabis for it to give us an intoxicating effect. If you just eat a bud, it's not going to give you an intoxicating effect. So we have to smoke it or decarboxylate the plant material to make it into an edible form for it to be effective. But these manipulations of the molecule are really, really interesting and have huge potential.
All right, questions? We'll go here and then go there.
Hi, my name is Teresa or anyone, but my dog was recently.
Speak up.
Oh, I'm sorry. My dog recently developed some pretty serious arthritis, and she's been on some dog medications, but I've been wanting to try her on some CBD to see if we can maybe even add to improve her condition or possibly, eliminate the other medications. Anyway, I've done a little bit of research and seen that several people have capsules or dog biscuits or something specifically for dogs. And I'm certainly willing to try those and probably will. But what I'm really interested in is something that would be safe for my dog that is more like a tincture or something that I can put into her food myself because, I used to make her food myself and now I'm going to start doing it again, and so I want to incorporate the CBD into the food. And I wondered if you had any suggestions.
Yeah, there's a number of companies that are making products for pets. I think that the concern is that it should be a lower dose because they're much smaller. But pets, animals do have dogs and cats do have endocannabinoid systems. I think that Bluebird Botanicals has a line, Dixie, Elixirs. They have a pet line also, and there are the teacher form.
Okay, great.
There's a Boulder County vet that actually came out with a book. I have to let's exchange information because I could give you his information. He just recently wrote a book about pets and CBD treatments.
It's interesting that the animals actually metabolize much quicker than humans. So when we're talking about, you'll see reactions, you'll see the effects very quickly with your animal, even quicker than we would see in humans. There's cases of cancer that dogs get rid of their cancer in a couple of weeks when they're given these doses. And some of these stories just, it make you cry because I work with patients that are two-legged, so it's really kind of fun to hear these stories about our four-legged friends.
And maybe something to mention to your nurse family members who are skeptics is that all mammals have endocannabinoid systems, and it appears that we evolved along with these compounds.
Questions? Yes.
I'd like to ask about, you mentioned a treatment app. Is that something you are currently researching, or is it a real product?
We are in development. We've got a map, which is part of the computer programming process, and we're actually in the market for a computer programmer to write the code.
Could I ask one?
Yes.
One other question. So this model of using an app for treatment, for those of us who are very dissatisfied with allopathic medicine, does the world of naturopathy or other alternative methods, is there any work at all to develop this kind of approach with a treatment app you've ever heard of?
I'm a big fan of what's Institute for Functional Medicine, and that's actually what I based the model on. Is they have a model for human health care that acknowledges the input variables and what we eat and what we drink and the air we breathe and things like that, and what our histories are, if you've had surgeries or accidents or even allopathic medical treatments we look at and consider. It's the input variables to the model is in the shape of a tree. So the input variables are the roots, and then you have the trunk, which is basically the person or the biological processes that are happening, and then you have the leaves. And so if you have a yellow leaf, you would see that as dysfunction. Instead of cutting the leaf off or trying to make it green artificially in the allopathic model, what we do is we look back to the input variables and we try and address which one of those is out of balance and correct the dysfunction that way. And so in that model, it's not invasive and it's highly effective.
All right, yes.
Talking about all the new ways that that people can get marijuana in their systems, the cannabis systems. And I was thinking about topical products. There's a couple different kinds. There's creams and there's transdermal patches and stuff. And also I live in Colorado, and I'm not going to have this problem, but other people might have this problem that they have to keep a job, and the job that they have requires drug tests. Use topicals. Is it going to show up on a drug test?
No.
It will not.
transdermal?
A transdermal is different than a topical because topical actually just activates the CB2 receptors in the skin itself. When it goes transdermal, penetrates through the skin into the bloodstream. That's where they'll be tested for it. So when they put it on topically, it actually does not enter into the bloodstream to create a positive THC.
Well, I use it, for instance, on cuts.
Yeah.
What if I put it in a cut? It's going to enter the bloodstream there?
You're using such a small dose, and if you think about one container as being 3.5 grams of cannabis, just say, in that one container, and it takes you all month to use that one container, that's different than using 3.5 grams of smoked cannabis. So when you're looking at that method of administration and the fact that it's not going to be, it will get into your bloodstream in that if you put it on a cut, but it's going to be such a microdose that it's not going to be detectable unless you're constantly doing it. I've had patients that all they use is topicals for their pain because they have to hold shots.
Drug testing is looking for metabolites of THC, and so it would have to go across the metabolic pathways in order to show up on that sort of screen.
Thanks.
All right, we have a couple minutes left. Any other questions, comments? Yes?
Yeah, you mentioned the co-evolution of humans and cannabis. I'd love to hear more about that. If I know you're an anthropology professor, you might have something to say about that.
Oh, it's a question for me?
For anyone who can talk about the subject.
And so the question is the co-evolution of cannabis?
Humans and cannabis.
Humans and cannabis?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably above my pay grade. What I look at are, I'm a labor rights advocate, and so as a cultural anthropologist, what I look at is I look at workers in grow houses and extraction facilities. This is my research. And I try to understand what cannabis workers are doing to protect their health. What are they doing to avoid injury? And I'm also looking at what inroads, what space exists for us to have labor rights in the cannabis sector. That's one of the areas overlooked and under-researched. A lot of the discourse focuses on, like, let's celebrate, this is a profiteering or money-making industry. So I'm interested in sort of who's not at the table for decision-making. So this co-evolution question, maybe traditional anthropologists would answer that the way you want to, but I know for centuries we've been using cannabis and it's pretty normal, and it's just been abnormal or denormalized this century. So I think what we're doing is sort of doing a circle, because this event here, the speakers, the questions, we can see that there is a mainstreaming of cannabis, and I think if anything, with the remaining minutes, it might be nice to have the panelists maybe talk about by this time next year, what innovations would they like to see that's not here at the moment, to be fashion forward and think about where we can go, especially from like a cultural perspective. I don't know if anyone wants to tackle that.
Descheduled marijuana. Remove from the control center.
I think in our field we're seeing the creation of mood-specific strains and blends and things, and so there's going to be the ability coming up pretty soon. It's already in the works of to zero in on a particular mind state, and that could be a very positive thing, but it could also be a very damaging thing to our culture. So I would encourage us all to really look at that. So it could be the Soma of 1984, or and the dystopian future, like Brave World 1984 and things, or it can be something that really helps us awaken and liberate and break through some of the things that bind us. So I pay attention to this trend, and who has control of that trend will be the people who will get that really bring it to the market. So that would be something I would look at.
One innovation that you'd like to see that we don't have currently?
I think a lot of the socio-political issues that need to change. I guess if I'm going to throw something out there, I would say social clubs where use is permitted, so that people can share ideas with like-minded individuals and consume cannabis in an open way. I think that's really important.
And I have to say, education, I'd really like to see endocannabinoid system and cannabinoid therapeutic education in our in our upper education establishments, in nursing schools, medical schools, and pharmacology schools. I'd like to see them understanding that with about 80% of the states now having some sort of a medical cannabis law, it's obvious that healthcare providers are going to run into cannabis patients. And so I think that for them to be most effective for these patients, they need to understand why patients are using this medicine and be able to help guide them through that. I do want to answer your question a little bit about the evolution of humans with this plant. And I'm not a religious type, but if you look at the Bible, in Genesis 1:29, it says, God created man, he also created all of the plants and herbs bearing seed for us to use. So that's all well and good, we use these plants, but when we're looking at it from a scientific perspective, we know that currently a lot of these health issues that we have, pretty much all of them, 95% I would say, have to do with a broken or sickened, weakened endocannabinoid system. And Dr. Ethan Russo termed the phrase clinical endocannabinoid deficiency. And when we see that clinical endocannabinoid deficiency, that means that our bodies are not producing the endocannabinoids that we need, similar to being deficient in B12. You know, in medicine, if you're deficient in vitamin D, we tell you to go outside and get sun on your face and your arms. What we are finding is for endocannabinoid deficiency, cannabis is the perfect supplement. So we need to really think about this as a wellness, as a way of wellness. I think, as you stated, for over 5,000 years, we've been using this plant medically, spiritually. We've used it in agriculture with our hemp. And it's interesting to me to note that over the last 70 years of prohibition, that the incidences of autoimmune disorders and cancers have gone absolutely bonkers. Now, there's lots of reasons and variables for that, but I do believe that the neuroprotectant and antioxidant value of cannabis and having that removed from our lives back in the 30s has done damage to our systems as humans. So I'm looking to really seeing that be incorporated back into where we're utilizing cannabinoids and getting them in our systems however we can.
So we're going to close, but before we do, I just want to make a plug. The subtext of the panel today was research, in my view. So I think people in the university and out of the university are in a good position to get authorized, meaning human subjects approved research for any innovative work you're doing. And me and others in the room have been successful in getting human subjects approval. So I encourage you to do that, to look at your role to educate the university and to educate human subjects committees. On behalf of the panel, first of all, I want to thank the panelists and thank you, and of course the organizers again. Thanks for attending.